Hello everyone. It's been so long since I have done these metal updates that I have a ton of stuff. So I'm going to do this in 3 parts. First CDs, then 7 and 12 inch singles, and then vinyl albums. So let's start with the one that doesn't have anything to do with metal. This is a band that I have always known about, and I have seen their albums plenty of times. But whenever I saw their albums, I was like, that doesn't seem like a southern rock band. A couple of months ago, a friend of mine posted an article on her Facebook, which was about forgotten, unknown or lesser known southern rock bands. And I read an article about this album and I decided to buy it, and luckily this has been reissued on CD, so I found it easily. This is the self-titled album from 38 Special, and this one is a good solid southern rock. There is I would say a slight country feel to it also, but mostly this is very good southern rock, and it seems that by the second album there was at least a degree of change, and by the fourth album they had become an AOR band. But yeah, this is a good southern rock album. With this next album there is at least a certain connection with heavy metal, and I owe a big thank you to Cloudy Milder for this one, because I saw this one on eBay, but the seller didn't want to post outside of UK, so I asked Cloudy to do a bidding on my behalf. He won it and he posted this to me, and I paid him his money back. This is Runaways, Born to be Bad, and these are like their first demo recordings from 1975. And I have always wondered about their first album, because to me it sounds flat and it sounds very slow. Playing seems very sloppy. So I have always wondered about that, and listening to this I'm sure that the trouble with the first album is due to the producer, because this sounds much heavier. This is much more tighter, much more rocking. Sadly, the vocals don't sound good on this, because I don't think that these are demo recordings as such. I think these are rehearsals recorded at the rehearsal space. That's why the vocals don't sound good here. But the playing here is very good. So thank you again, Cloudy Milder. This next band, I had always known about them. I had known about them from the very beginning, even when they were working on their original name, His Infernal Majesty. So this is Him, Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights. I always felt a certain degree of interest towards them, but never enough to buy an album until a few months ago. I was working with a young guy who was a big fan of them, and he kept banging on to me about this band. And actually, what finally made me buy this album was that he said that they had done a good live cover version of Billy Idol's Rebel Yell, and I thought that okay, that sounds interesting. So I went to YouTube and listened to it, and I liked it, and it finally was like the final thing that made me want to buy something from them, and I bought this one. I think it's a good album. I'm not going to say that this became a huge favorite of mine, but I believe that I will buy more from them. Next album was both a positive and a negative surprise to me. This is Dokken Under Lock and Key. The good thing about this was that I did like this. I thought it was a good album, although I do prefer Tooth and Nail to this. But the negative thing was, like, even on the first listen I was thinking like, that sounds like a familiar thing. And to me this is like how should I say it? Perfect example of hair metal. Like every song is like perfect example of what hair metal was, except that the keyboards are not so up front here. But yeah, it seems like every song is done with with a ruler, let's say it that way. Every song is like measured to be like perfect hair metal. Yeah, really odd feeling to be listening to that one. Next one, there was one big surprise. This is the first album from Uriah Heep, very heavy, very humble. And the surprise was that the Ken Hensley has not written these songs. It turned out that he was not a member of the band by the time they were writing these songs. And I like this, so it gives credence to other members of Uriah Heep, except Ken Hensley, showing that the other members could also write good songs. There's two versions of this, UK version and US version, and there's a one song difference between those two. And which version do I prefer? I don't prefer either one of those, because those two songs which are changed between those two versions, both are awful songs. I didn't like either one of those at all, so I prefer the version without those songs. Okay, next one is a band that I have always known about, but I never listened to them. Again, it was one of those things that 2-3 years ago I started feeling some kind of interest towards them. And I never saw anything except their hit album until now. This is Warrant, and let's get the title, Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich. And this was a surprise, a positive surprise to me, because although this is like again a very good example of hair metal, it's not so. It's not for first thing, it's not cheesy sounding. There are keyboards here, but it's more still like a drum and guitar driven than keyboards. Very melodic, very big vocal choruses, but still very good songs, and it is more rootsier than I would have expected from a heavy metal band like this one. It's not rootsy in a way that Cinderella was, but I mean that it isn't as cheesy sounding at all as what you would expect from a heavy metal band like this one. And next one is quite the opposite, self-titled from Mötley Crüe. I always wanted to hear this album, and now I finally found this, so I decided to give this one a go. And first song, Power to the Music, I was like, oh god, that's awful. But it seems that they put like extra screeches and extra darkness onto the first song. After that, they like ease up a little bit, and those songs became much better. Not in any way my favorite Mötley Crüe album, but a good album. I'm glad I finally had it. Again, an album that I did consider buying ever since it was released, but it took me 24 years to finally buy this. This is Slash Snakepit. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Mostly these are Guns N' Roses members, but it's a good album. There are a little bit of Guns N' Roses influences here, but not too much. I think it's a good album. I think I had a chance to go see them back in the day, but I didn't, so shame. Good heavy metal hard rock album. Okay, I collect. There's another thing that I collect outside of records, and that is members of Thin Lizzy and Rainbow. And before you call the cops, I should say that that does not mean that I knock them unconscious and lock them in my basement closet. What it means is that because I didn't see either of those bands live, I now try to see them, those members, live. And this latest one that I managed to see was Graham Bonnet. He came here, and for some reason, it was only about a week before the gig was about to happen that I finally found out about it. And at first it was supposed to be in another town, so I wanted to check if he would play here also, and he did. So I did manage to go see him. And I was actually first considering buying the previous album, Disturbing the Peace, but I ended up buying Alcatraz Dangerous Games. And as you can see, it's signed by Graham Bonnet. I don't like this album. I don't think it's a good one. It's some of those songs are just really bad. Some of them are just too cheesy, and there's a couple of good songs here also, but mainly this is just not good album. It also includes a live recording here, and based on these songs here, it seems that the Disturbing the Peace album would have been better than this one. Yeah, I didn't like this one. Next one, again, album that I considered buying already when it was released, but it took me 26 years to buy this one. Guns N' Roses, The Spaghetti Incident, their cover album. I like this album. I think these are good cover versions. Not much of a difference between these versions and the original versions, but there's songs like New Rose, which is a Damned song. With the Damned, the songs is like 1, 2, 3, 4 and pass the song. That's it. There's no finesse, there's no there's nothing else. It's just the band bashing the song through, and that's it. Basically this version is like that, except that these listening to this recording, it sounds like they have rehearsed the song, they know their parts. They play it very like Damned, but whereas the Damned version is like chaotic, this is like rehearsed version. To me, the high point of this album is Ain't It Fun. I do know the original Dead Boys version, but I don't have it, so having that song here that's the highlight of me. There's stuff like Raw Power, good version, but Axl's vocals on it sounds a bit flat compared to Iggy Pop version. Yeah, didn't know all the songs here, but I thought it was good anyway. Okay, next let's go through 4 albums at once. I've known about this band for a very long time, but I've never got around buying anything, and now I bought 4 albums. First I bought this Fight for the Rock. This is Savatage, and I liked it, and I went back and I bought Power of the Night. And these 2 albums are like basic early 80s heavy metal. Yeah, very good, simple heavy metal. So I like those, so I bought the next 2 albums, Hall of the Mountain King and Gutter Ballet. And yeah, these 2 albums, they are much more like technical, much more better recorded, much more better produced, better sounding. But I actually prefer these 2, and the Gutter Ballet album is my favorite of these 4. Excellent stuff. All of these are good, all of these are worth getting to know, but out of these 4, this one is my favorite. All the time keep pulling up the wrong album. Okay, yeah, let's start with here, and I possibly post another one today or tomorrow or day after tomorrow, who knows, but I'm gonna film the second part right away. Thanks for watching, leave a comment, bye.